You know, one of the most important things you can add to your whitetail and wildlife design on your property is probably the most overlooked aspect of creating great habitat. Think about it, whitetails are creatures of edge. And within that edge, a lot of other wildlife species live. In fact, we have pheasants right out here, grouse right in the woods, both that combination right here in the same spot. And then this becomes beautiful turkey nesting habitat. You know, they say turkeys are on the decline across the country. And I read an article about that over the weekend again. They blame all different kinds of things, but just like pheasant in this area, if they don't have habitat, they don't have habitat to successfully raise the young and have successful nesting and turkey poult, then they're not going to have turkeys in the area. And so this edge is not just for whitetails, it's for everything. And I want to talk about edge because there's programs, even in the state of Wisconsin, I've seen it where they have like an edge feathering project. And usually it's food plot, woods, and then they hinge cut a bunch of woods or cut it down, and then all of a sudden you have this hard edge where it's food plot, just a tangled mess of cuttings, and then hardwoods. To me, that's a hard edge. There's not a lot that lives in that. Turkeys, for example, they need the grass upland, but then they need that hardwood regeneration and briars for successful nesting, and then shrubs for rabbits. And so our soft edge, true soft edge for whitetails, starts out soft. It starts out with switchgrass. You can see the switchgrass was planted last year. We had drought. It was later in the season when it was planted. And so I'm happy that we have a stand of switchgrass coming. And what's really nice is we've mowed this and we let it grow back and it's scattered, and each one of these clusters forms into switchgrass about this tall, just one little seed. And you can see where all these are at, it'll just thicken right in. We have switchgrass going all the way down, these little things right here. Little sprigs of switchgrass right here, all the way down to the edge. So when this takes off next year, we'll expect a 6 to 7 foot wall. We'll spray with this with simazine. This isn't a switchgrass video. Switchgrass is just part of it. We have a big food plot up here. It's actually 4.5 acres. The true temptation is to actually clear this right down to the woods. We could take a huge area in here. We could add another 1.5 acres to 2 acres of food. But it's not all about the food. There's so much more that goes into it. That's why we love our edge here on this property. We have the switchgrass edge right here, and then we go into the weeds right here, and we have various grasses, goldenrod, but we start to get these gray dogwood clusters too. Gray dogwood is great for a rabbit hiding out, helps them escape birds of prey from above. It's great for pheasant. And as we move down into here, you can see where we get into the woods, and because this was probably pasture land at some point, there's actually a terrace right down. You can see a white line. So there's a terrace there. They actually probably farmed this at one point. I'm sure there's mixed uses throughout the decades in this location. In fact, this property was owned by the same family since the 1860s. So we bought the last piece, which was the woods. It was 67 acres right here. Now we get down to this edge. We have the grass, we have shrubs, briars, weeds, and then we have that woods right there. So I want to have hardwood regeneration down there. What's different, when we don't have a food plot going all the way up to that wood edge right there, then we don't have to drop the trees back and forth parallel to the field edge, blocking the natural movement that deer like to take going back and forth. So we can go to those trees there. We have birch, we have aspen, we have cherry, we have maple, we have oak. Oak, I'll leave an occasional scattered oak. You can see some of the bigger ones along the edge right here. And I'll leave an occasional scattered one, meaning one every 20, 30 yards. I don't want a wall of oak. It doesn't do the wildlife any good. It doesn't do us any good. I want the oak for diversity, but they're never going to be the habitat. They're not a good habitat alone. It by any means is not cover, and it's not a good food source for the entire fall and winter. Winter time is a lean time around here. So bottom line is, I'll cut that timber. I'll hinge cut some, like the smaller diameter, non-aspen. Might even completely cut cherry, maple, oak. Deer like eating that hardwood regeneration. Shrubs will be released that are growing in between. And then the aspen that I cut, that's the next layer in. If you can see all these birch, there's a couple large mature aspen in there, just about 15 yards, 10 yards, right around 20, 30 feet off the field. I'll cut those. And because we have the opening of the sunlight right out here in the field, they're all leaning this way. So it makes it very nice cuts to be able to completely cut the aspen. And what happens is, almost as high as that aspen is and tall it is, that's about the length that those aspen will start to grow in the shoots out into the field. So what we'll have is, once we get to those aspen back there, that would be the key. Aspen is incredible cover for grouse, for nesting turkeys, food for deer, browse for deer, cover for deer. And my goal is to expand that woods out into here so that we have the switchgrass edge, the shrub grasses, briars, and then hardwood regeneration, and then finally getting back into the hardwoods. Now then, deer that are back there, they could actually bed within the woods. They have regeneration all around them. They have the cover up here next to the food source, and we'll get does to bed right down there, where otherwise we would stand right here, we could look in, they could look out to the field. That's very stressful to them. Even if there's deer out here, they don't like it. That's creating a true soft edge around your food sources, maybe on the edge of your land where it meets ag. We have about 3 miles of edge on this land because it's so irregular going in and around the farm and ag fields that are in this location. So we have about 3 miles of switchgrass. On the inside, we could add a rabbit hut down here where we'll hinge cut the trees and drop trees over those 3 pallets, get rabbits to live in those locations. So between the rabbit hut cuttings, the switchgrass, the regeneration of the shrubs. And what's cool about these shrubs out here is we can mow them down if they start to get tall. If there's trees growing in them we don't want, we can mow them, we can spot spray, but we can maintain this edge as grass, shrubs, weeds, briars, hardwood regeneration, and finally hardwoods for many years to come. And that's an edge. That's an edge, not just switchgrass hardwoods or hinge cuts, tree falls that are parallel and keep deer from going back and forth and in and out. All these trees that we cut are going to fall perpendicular to the field and away from the field edge, and now deer can go back and forth in between them. They can use them. Turkeys can escape through them. Rabbits will live under them. And so between the hinge cuts of the smaller hardwood species that are non-aspen, and then the complete cut of the aspen, probably some cherry too, maybe even some of the birch, we're going to get a ton of regeneration in this area that'll actually take place next year. And because we've dropped the trees back out here, any of the grasses that are living out here that'll come up through those tree branches will be more sturdy going into the fall and winter. At the same time, it'll offer great cover for all the little critters that are out here. So that's an actual soft edge. And if you go up here, back up to the switchgrass edge, we're going back up to that switchgrass edge right here. In our edge, in total, depending on where we're at along this edge, is going to be anywhere from 30 yards to 70 yards deep. That'll all be edge, and it'll be all whitetails and wildlife cover. It'll be a ton of diversity, and that's what it takes to start not only building a great food source, but offering bedding, regeneration, daytime browse for not only deer, but all wildlife species. It all starts with this edge. That'll put does bedding closer. We're going to make this edge all the way around this point. It's about 300 to 400 yards of edge. If I had to guess, it's actually, let me add it up here, we're probably about anywhere from 400 to 500 yards of edge in this location, all the way around this point. Dropping trees into that brush. The same formula all the way around. We even had some red cedar over here, some other clusters of oak coming in. We'll place those does up close to this because they'll have sufficient cover and browse to hide and munch on all day long. And then that means back on this point where we just are adding another stand location that we can access from the back side will really be a backside buck bedding area where we're coming up into that. We have bucks bedding between us and the field, and does bedding between that buck and the field. Doesn't matter the direction. That's the way it always lays out. You have this nice edge, then you have does, bucks, and so it's not just setting it all up for deer hunting, but it does. It's setting it up for all wildlife to enjoy, and I think you'll enjoy it too. We enjoy coming out here and see all the bird tracks that are in the corn. Dylan and I were just getting out of side by side and heard a rooster pheasant right behind us. Jen and I were out walking, looking for Barry's sheds. He already shed on December 18th or 19th. It was crazy. He's wounded, that's why. But we saw 2 grouse right over in the corner. So to have grouse, pheasants, turkey nesting, and great deer habitat all at once with a bunch of rabbits thrown in, it's the perfect indication that we're doing a good job. And this is right This is something that's very important for you to add, and a lot of people gloss over. So add it to your deer property this year, create this edge. And while you're at it, if it's on public land, go try to find it. Because where you find all this edge and diversity taking place, you're gonna find a lot of wildlife, including whitetails. And it's not only a great sign on public land, but certainly you need to build it on your own private land this off season. Now, I appreciate you guys watching the YouTube channel, but I don't know if everyone knows everything that we have to offer, whether it's on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, our website, our WHS Wildlife Blends, our seed company. Also Instagram you can check out. I'm very active on Instagram, putting strategies on there, photos of what we do every day. Much more active there than Facebook. But our seed, web classes, books, clients, articles. I have over 600 articles on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, everything whitetail strategy. Of course, we have hats on there, and then make sure to check us out on Instagram again. But lots of stuff to offer. We're always coming out with new things, and this isn't the end of it. We have more things coming soon. Make sure to check us out.